Oppo A7 and the Huawei Y9 are similarly priced phones. I've used both of them and I've reviewed both of them, and we are even giving the Y9 away. But the question is, which one of these phones is better? So let's find out. Both of these phones sort of have a similar build quality. Both of these are made of plastic, which is designed to feel like glass. The sides are also made of plastic, but in the Oppo A7 the buttons are slightly more tactile, and the main difference comes in the front panel. The Oppo A7 has much smaller bezels. There's only a camera cutout instead of a notch like the Huawei Y9. In my opinion, this does look a bit better and less distracting. The Huawei Y9 is also a bigger phone. I do prefer bigger phones, but the Oppo A7 does feel more comfortable because of its more compact style. I think both of these phones do look really good. The Oppo A7 stands out with its bright color and smaller bezels, while the Y9 has this really good looking blue. But at the end of the day, when it comes to build quality and visual appeal, I'd go with the A7. It just looks better. The smaller bezels do make a difference, and it just feels better to use a phone where the notch blocks less content. The Y9 also has a small notch, but it doesn't really beat the camera cutout on the A7. The Y9 has a really good, really decent 1080p display. There's a slight blue tint, but compared to the Oppo A7, the display is much better. The display panel is only 720p in the A7, and that difference between 720p and 1080p, especially in this size, matters quite a lot. The Y9 display is just much more sharper. It is a bigger panel at 6.5 inches compared to the 6.2 inches on the A7, but it's also better and more clear. The colors are slightly more vibrant on the A7, but when it comes down to it, I want more clarity. And everything like photos, videos, games just look that much better on the Y9 because it has a higher res display. So when it comes down to the display, I'd go with the Huawei Y9. The Huawei Y9 has a Kirin 710, while the Oppo A7 has a Snapdragon 450. If the A7 had a Snapdragon 636, that would have made things more interesting, because those two are pretty comparable processors. But between the Kirin 710 and the Snapdragon 450, there's just not that much competition. The 710 is a much better processor. So the raw performance like opening apps, the smoothness, going through the UI, all those things are just better on the Y9. The Oppo A7 has faster fingerprint sensor and faster face unlock. But that's the only good thing I can say about the Oppo A7 when it comes to comparing it with the Y9 in terms of performance. I'm not really a fan of Oppo's skin, and all the problems like using accessibility apps, messing with the developer settings, all those things are no problem in the EMUI. At the end of the day, the Huawei Y9 just has a more efficient and more powerful processor. So you end up getting a much better experience. So again, when it comes to the performance, the Y9 is the winner. When I reviewed the Y9, I mentioned that the camera was one of the weaker parts of the phone. But at the same time, the camera is one of the strongest parts in the A7. The Y9 has Huawei's really awesome portrait mode, but the picture quality is just not there. The Oppo A7 takes much better photos. Better quality, better colors, better dynamic range. The Oppo A7 just has better camera hardware than the Y9. The portrait mode is pretty good, but it's just the raw camera performance in both the front and the back camera that's better in the A7. The thing is, these are both budget phones, and in budget phones, to meet the price, you obviously have to cut some corners. Where Oppo sacrificed on the display, it feels like the Y9 did that with the camera. So if you are looking for a phone with a better camera, then you should go with the Oppo A7. The Oppo A7 has a 40 to 30 mAh battery, while the Huawei Y9 has a 4001. Even though on paper it doesn't sound like that much of a difference, in usability there's quite a lot of difference. The Oppo A7 only has a 720p display, so that's less burden on the processor. This is why the battery lasts much longer on the A7. The A7 has one of the best battery performances I have ever seen. The Y9 also has great battery life that clocks in at about 2 days, but in the Oppo A7 you can easily push that to 3 days. The battery life is just that good on the A7. So now it's time to conclude. It's time to make a decision. Which of these phones should you get? The Oppo A7 has a better, more visually appealing build, better camera, and better battery, while the Y9 has a much better display and much better performance. Whenever we are comparing phones, there's never really a definitive black and white answer, and that's because people are different. Everyone has different needs. Someone maybe wants a better display or a better camera, so in the end, you have to make this decision. Think about which features do you value more. If you are looking for a phone with a better camera, then the Oppo A7 is your phone. If you are looking for a phone that is a better performer for apps and games, then the Y9 is your phone. So hopefully this comparison clears things up. It gives you an educated opinion about what phone is giving you what feature, so you can make a decision and get a device that will keep you satisfied. As for my personal preference, some days I need a phone that can perform, that can get the job done quickly, and for that I'll go with the Huawei Y9. But some days I wanna show off. I wanna brag about how small the bezels are, and for that I'd go with the Oppo A7.